Shannon Devine is the NDP candidate for the upcoming by-election this Monday, August 31st in Beaches, East York. We had a wide-ranging conversation touching upon everything from climate change to AI data centers to effective procurement practices and everything in between. Welcome to Toronto the Politics, the show. My name is Christopher Chesson. I'm Toronto the Politics, the show, the host. Here's that conversation. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Yes, thank you for the invitation.
Where are we?
We're at our campaign office located at 308, sorry, I'm giving so many numbers, 308 Main Street, right at the corner of Main and Danforth, right across from the main subway. We're in beautiful Beaches, East York, baby.
Lovely place around here. I had a great little bagel and egg earlier in the day. You had your vegan yogurt. I think we're all nourished for a good, quick conversation.
We are, indeed.
I want to hit you with a bit of a gotcha question off the
Okay.
start. What is the difference between the Liberal Party of Canada and the NDP?
I think the NDP, we are absolutely clear about what we stand for. We stand for transitioning the economy away from fossil fuels. We do not believe in building more pipelines. Right now, Mark Carney has proposed investing up to and probably more than $40 billion in creating a new pipeline. We don't need it. We need to transition away from these ideas because people are suffering. And this summer, we had a couple of days where we couldn't even breathe the air in Toronto. It was unsafe. And so there's no way we should be investing in pipelines. We also believe in head-to-toe healthcare, investing in continuing and building out pharmacare, finishing pharmacare, finishing dental care, investing in mental health care, investing in vision and eye care, which is really unaffordable for people if they don't have a benefit plan.
How would you evaluate Mark Carney's success as Prime Minister?
I think people are feeling really disappointed. I'm out talking to people every single day, many times a day, and they're feeling like there was a bit of a bait and switch that happened there. People are feeling like they're being taken for granted. They didn't vote for a new pipeline, and they're feeling like their needs are being ignored. We're in an affordability crisis that's been going on for years, and that's another thing that would differentiate the NDP from the Liberal Party. We actually have really great ideas to help Canadians with the affordability crisis, like public grocers and a public builder that could build more affordable housing, more co-ops, more supportive housing, more not-for-profit housing.
What's the difference between the NDP under Avi Lewis compared to NDP under Jagmeet Singh?
Well, I really adore both people, and I think that Jagmeet was very successful in negotiating with the Liberals, and I think that Avi and the NDP under Avi we're just very clear about what we stand for. And I think people appreciate that. We need to have the audacity to be hopeful, to be hopeful that something else is possible, that better is possible. And I think that Avi does deliver on that. He has a very bold vision for the NDP, and I think we're benefiting from it.
I'm not sure if you've seen the show. A question I love to ask is why be a politician? Because it kind of seems like a very stressful job. It seems like you get a lot of grief from everywhere. Why you? Why run for office?
Well, I'm running for office this time around because I feel like people deserve better. I feel like we can be hopeful about what's possible, and our expectations over the last 30 or 40 years have been pushed down, but people have had it. And the problems that we face of really expensive groceries, of really expensive housing, it's not an individual problem. It's a collective problem, and we need collective solutions. And so I've been working in advocacy for the last 20 years, pushing for workers' rights, pushing for human rights, housing, food security, all sorts of things, environment. And I want to take that and be the best MP for this area.
Looking at polling, Carney's doing pretty well. The federal Liberals are doing pretty well right now. What do you think the NDP can offer as an alternative? What do you think that maybe the Canadians aren't hearing from the NDP that you think is a message you want to communicate to them better? Do you feel like there's more reflection people need to be doing? Because, I talk to my parents, they love Mark Carney. It's not like they're so upset. Do you think that Beaches East York has a different perspective towards the federal Liberals?
I think that people here do. They feel like their vote has been taken for granted. In this area, a lot of voters oscillate between Liberal and NDP, and it's been like that for ages. And people who have voted Liberal, even folks that have voted Liberal their whole life, are calling our campaign, are getting in touch. We have members of Nathaniel Erskine Smith's riding association, Liberal Riding Association, who are involved in this campaign. So that tells me people are not happy with the direction of the government. And also, we're a waterfront community here. And residents are not happy with how the government has dealt with the Billy Bishop Airport expansion. They don't trust that Mark Carney is going to hold the line on that, and reasonably so.
What's different about this? I mean, we just came back from the polls. There's been an election last year. What's different this time around?
I think people are feeling a lot of buyer's remorse when it comes to Mark Carney in Beaches East York, particularly. That's the thing I know about the best. And people are feeling like there aren't those checks and balances. I had a really funny conversation with a woman. She works in the music industry. She operates an Airbnb, and she has always voted Liberal, sometimes even conservative. And she said that she feels like there needs to be more New Democrats in Ottawa because the last election, we got rid of too many New Democrats. And so that counterbalance isn't there anymore. And people are really feeling that because it was New Democrats who won pharmacare, dental care, affordable child care, a ban on replacement workers, a lot of the COVID benefits that people really needed. And so when we're not there, people are generally not getting what they need. And I think we see that right now.
Switching gears to the international side of things, defense spending, increasing Canada's involvement with NATO, increasing the portion of our GDP which goes towards defense spending. Do you have any specific observations around the submarine purchases or the broader investments into our national defense?
I think it's taking us in the wrong direction. It's very much the wrong direction. Just like investing in a pipeline instead of healthcare, instead of climate change action, the defense spending is something that's being asked of us by other countries. It's not what citizens are asking for. I think Canadians, with the situation in the US, they do feel a lot of vulnerability and anxiety, and reasonably so. But that's all the more reason to invest in what we can do here for each other, invest in healthcare, invest in climate action, invest in dental care, invest in affordable housing and groceries that people can afford.
What's going on in the United States right now?
I think you know. People, in the last election, people were very, very concerned about the tariffs. We're still concerned about it, but people are realizing that, hey, Mark Carney is not the strong negotiator that we thought he was. He's not such a skilled negotiator. It's not going great. And in the meantime, we're spending more on defense. We cannot afford our housing. We cannot afford our groceries. And we're spending money on a pipeline.
What do you think it would mean for the NDP were you to win this by-election?
I think it's a great sign. And honestly, it's been going really well. I ran in the last election, which was a fairly punishing one for the NDP. But we're here again, and we're at it again. And every day, we shipped out about 60 signs yesterday. We got 80 more requests.
Wow. Just
between the time that the signs were taken out and this morning. So we're out talking to people. We're talking to Liberals who have never voted NDP before, and they're feeling like they want to consider us. They're considering us for the first time, which is amazing.
What did you learn from your experience working with Labour that you think benefits you in your experience running for council today? Or not council, I'm spending too much time at City Hall. And now we're running, for Parliament today. Like, how did that experience teach you?
I think that we, as advocates and as activists, we don't take anything for granted. We always need to be working. We always need to be pushing. We need to be talking to people. We can't afford to not talk to absolutely everyone.
Do you think Mark Carney is in touch with the average Canadian?
I think he's very out of touch. He's a very wealthy banker, and he's extremely out of touch. And the biggest, most amazing PR job that I've ever seen is making people believe that he's Captain Canada. Yeah, that was truly incredible.
What do you mean by that?
Well, he hasn't lived in he hasn't lived in Canada all of his life. He doesn't have a lot of contact with average people, not the way that we do here. I do wonder how much canvassing he's even done in his life. I've been a campaigner for about 20 years, living in this area for 11 years, working on campaigns at every single level. And so I've knocked on like thousands of doors here. I just don't think it was credible.
You know, it's a funny thing. Sometimes what I get frustrated by with some people on the left is discussing elites as though they are in a very conspiratorial way, as though they actively do have people's bad interests in mind.
I don't think so. I think he's just out of touch.
I think it's a little more subtle. I think it's when you become rich, you get rich person friends, and the only problems you hear are from other rich people.
That's right.
And your sphere of influence becomes very narrow, and I think very biased towards people who have the same level of privilege that you do.
And we all have that experience. And it's different if you're ultra wealthy because your friends are ultra wealthy. But I think we all have that experience of just talking to people like us. It's what humans do often, but we don't benefit from that. And I think that that's the thing that I am taking from my years in the labor movement and years doing advocacy, is that no one should be excluded and no one should be discounted. We have to talk to everybody, and everyone's opinion matters. And sometimes we're out there talking to people who voted liberal, we're talking to people who voted conservative. And people who voted conservative are not so different. They have the same economic concerns. They have the same pressures. We don't necessarily see the solutions in the same way, but we can, you know?
What do you think is the most compelling argument you can make towards someone who did vote for the Conservatives in the last election? Like, what do you think is the way to win them over to the NDP?
I think talking about their life and talking about what we're proposing as solutions. So when I go out and canvass, I don't do my shtick of how, like the regular shtick of how do you think you're going to vote? I say, what's on your mind?
Yeah.
How are you doing? How are things going? And then if I notice that they have kid stuff, I say, how are your kids? Like, how old are your kids? We're chatting, we're talking about people's lives, we're talking about their real experience. And that's how you connect with people. You have to connect with people. Otherwise, you're not convincing anyone of anything. You have to make a connection and then talk about what's possible, because people are used to expecting less from politicians. They're used to being taken for granted and thinking that even though they have all these problems, they're their problems. They're not just their problems. They're all of our problems.
What's it like to be a politician? Like, how do you ensure that you're able to stay grounded, that you don't get caught up in, I'm sure, Twitter is a scary place. Like, how do you ensure that you pursue this without going a little crazy because of all the press attention?
Right. Well, thank you. I am spending most of my time knocking on doors or making phone calls. I'm not really spending a lot of time on social media simply because I do not have time.
Yeah.
I am a parent and I have a wife at home. We have 2 kids. And
how old are your kids?
We have 2 daughters. One is 8 and one is 18. And so we have our life, we have friends, we are out in this campaign, and it's a short campaign, so we don't have time to waste. We want to talk to as many people as we can, and so I'm not going to be concerned about what people are saying on Twitter. I don't really have time. I just don't have time.
It's a tough time to be, 18, I'm 28, so we've got good little parallels of decades there.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the issues that, a teenager is experiencing right now? And how do you think, how is your daughter doing? And what are some of the things that you're hoping to build in Canada to ensure that your children have a successful future?
We have the best kids, and so we're really lucky for that. And that's what motivates me. It motivates me to work to help transition the economy, away from fossil fuels. A lot of young people feel economic anxiety and they feel climate anxiety, and those things are real. I am lucky because we have our home, but anyone younger than me, colleagues younger than me, have said, you know, there's no way I'm ever going to have a house. Like, I'm going to be renting for my whole life. And that's okay. It's not bad. It's just, if that's not your choice, then that's frustrating, right?
Sometimes it feels like we're given this set of options that we either care about the climate or we care about the economy. Do you think that's a true dichotomy?
No, I think it's a false dichotomy. I absolutely do, and I always have. And working in the labor movement, I've talked to people about that as well. And we there's no economy if we can't breathe. Like there are no jobs if we can't leave our homes.
Especially when you look at the renewables technology today, it's not as though there's even much of an economic argument around continuing to do extractive resource production.
That's right.
Like, you can win a competitive contract in many energy markets, pitching renewables, pitching, non-oil, not because people are concerned about climate change, but just because it makes economic sense.
It does make economic sense. Yeah. And I think sometimes we're not considering the full cost of the extraction, because when we're dealing with things like really erratic climate disasters, like, there's a cost to that. There's a cost to floods. There's a cost to these like crazy ice storms that we have. There's a cost to all of that, and that's not being factored in to this oil extraction.
I grew up in a time where it felt like all the major disaster movies were just about climate change. And I think we're starting to feel it, like the extreme weather events that are happening right now. Like, this is not some distant problem.
No, it's not.
This is happening today.
It's happening today. I think it's happening faster than what we anticipated. And that's very much the reason that we must make some changes now. We have to start to transition our economy away from fossil fuels. It's not going to happen overnight. I was talking to this woman yesterday on our climate canvas with Peter Tabbins, and she said, well, you can't do this next year. I said, no, we can't do this next year. She said, it's going to take 25 years. And I said, yes, it may take 25 years. But we absolutely need to start that now. We can't keep investing in the fossil fuel economy. We cannot.
Two best times to plant a tree, right? I think it feels as though increasingly corporations have such a large amount of control over our governments. And I think we're seeing that most explicitly with the rise of hyperscale data centers in many cities, often without a lot of transparency, with, you're hearing stories like counselors being forced to sign NDAs to even consider it. What do you think AI data centers represent in Canada, and what do you think are some of the risks, and do you think there are any benefits to incorporating them?
I don't think there are any benefits to incorporating AI data centers in Canada. I think that they are a drain on our energy resources. Last week, we had a major power outage in Toronto, and it went on for quite some time. And a data center is like, it will use as much energy as a small town, from what I understand.
But Shannon, how else am I supposed to make a cartoon of me looking like I'm from a Studio Ghibli movie, if not for this AI, right? Like,
is that super necessary, Christopher?
Well, you ask some people on Facebook, it seems to be.
Yes, interestingly, I think we need to consider what growth is good growth. And it can't be happening exponentially at all costs. And I don't think we've had a realistic view of that. And politically, it's potentially unpopular. And so that's why parties like the Liberal Party or Conservative Party won't have real conversations with people about that. But as New Democrats, we're clear about our values, and I think that that's really important. There was a data center proposed for down the street over in Scarborough Southwest, and I think it was defeated. And that would have been a disaster for this community. And people don't want data centers. I know there are all sorts of things that people don't want in their area, rightly or wrongly, but data centers, I'm 100% on board with not having that around here. And not having it in Toronto. We don't have the resources for it. We don't have the resources that we need right now, and so we don't need a further drain.
I think we talk a lot about cities on this show, one city really. The key place where the federal government is intersecting with municipal responsibility is going to be in transportation. What are some projects or, types of projects you think the federal government could be doing better when it comes to supporting Toronto's travel needs, transportation needs? And what do you think are some projects that could be deprioritized?
Okay. I think that continuing to support the TTC is going to be really important. We do need high-speed rail in the country, not at the expense of Via Rail, and it needs to be not just Montreal to Ottawa. Like that isn't going to help the most number of people, and we do need to invest in better transit infrastructure. That is for sure. There are a number of people that have been disenfranchised when the Greyhound bus routes were eliminated, and so we need to consider that as well. And buses are really practical for some areas, and we need to have electric buses. And those can be made in Canada.
And yet it doesn't feel like that's necessarily always a priority when we're doing some of these RFPs for capital expenses. It seems like there's a certain, can I ask, like, how do you feel about the global market? Like, do you think that when you think about free trade between countries, do you have any perspective there? Do you think that we should be prioritizing buying things in Canada, or should we instead be looking for the lowest bidder across the road?
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. We should be prioritizing buying things here in Canada. That is absolutely essential. I think when we have these government RFP processes, that needs to be prioritized. We need to prioritize procurement, absolutely, local procurement. The NDP has had a long-standing... Well, because it helps grow jobs here, right? And oftentimes, when we're making things here, we have stricter regulations around climate and around labor rights. And those are two very key things that we need to be considering as part of an RFP process that aren't always considered. Because when we go with the lowest bidder, those things are often coming from overseas. And so there's also that transportation pollution that is caused too, that isn't being accounted for.
If I were to put on my Ezra Klein abundance hat, doesn't that make it more difficult though for us to pursue things like high-speed rail? Like, how can you, when you're balancing all those different priorities, how do you know where to fall on these complicated issues like that? I'm asking you can you please distill, 5-year-long engagement processes into about a 30-second nice little clip for me, I know it's a difficult question, but I guess it's always these different trade-offs, and it's tough, I think, sometimes for like the common Canadian to see like, well, you hear the headline though, we bought a Chinese ferry,
right?
And it can be very difficult to understand, like,
when we can build those here,
right? Yeah, and like, is it just never good to buy overseas? Maybe I'll ask you more specific.
I think it's very nuanced. And part of that...
Wait, that's not good for a podcast.
Yeah.
I need your hot take.
Yes, right. Okay. Well, it's nuanced, so that's maybe not a hot take. But I think when we're doing an RFP, when we're in that process, and we need to think about what our goals are. And I don't think that we think about what people need in that gain. If the gain is better ferry services, okay. And so what else do we need? We need decent jobs. We need a commitment to climate action. There are tons of things that we need, right? And I don't think that is always considered, and we have to. I think that's good government, and we haven't seen good government on a lot of fronts for a very long time, if ever.
Anything else you think you would like to highlight as part of your campaign?
I would like to highlight that people are really energized by possibility. And it is a very different picture than 2025. People want solutions. They want solutions to climate change and the climate catastrophe that we're in. They want solutions to affordability. They want to know that the person that they're electing is actually going to advocate for them. Right now in Mark Carney's government, it's very top down, and individual MPs have very little leeway to advocate on behalf of their constituents. We saw that with the Billy Bishop Airport expansion. Torontonians were by and large opposed to that. 87,000 of us filled out that survey. 76,000 said no to the expansion. Did we hear a peep from any of those Liberal MPs during that whole time until Mark Carney finally put a stay on it? We did not. They were not doing their jobs.
But forever is a long time, though, right, Shannon?
It is, and that's how long it should be.
There's one more thing I wanted to ask. Oh, yes. You have a debate coming up on Wednesday.
I do.
What's the behind the curtain process for you to prep for a debate like that? Like, how do you feel going into that, and what's your game plan going in?
Yeah, I feel good going into the debate. I have 20 years experience in advocacy, and I'm going to put that into this debate. And the other people who are running don't have anywhere near the experience as I do. And so I feel like the NDP has the best policies, and Mark Carney's record since he took over government hasn't been amazing. And if the Liberal candidate is running on that, I don't think people are going to love it.
Do you think that's specific? Do you think Beaches East York is a specific case? Like, how do you think Beaches East York compares to the rest of Canada?
Beaches East York is interesting because it is very mixed income, and 47% of the population are renters. We have also a number of, we also have a lot of newcomers here, and it is similar to some other ridings across Toronto. I don't know how it translates to other ridings across Canada, but what is real for people is they are struggling with affordability. They're struggling with housing costs, they are struggling with grocery costs, and they're struggling with a healthcare system that just is not in good shape, particularly here in Ontario. Our provincial government has been disastrous for healthcare. And so they're struggling with that, and they want action on the climate.
I wonder if this is my soapbox, don't need to comment on this. I feel like there might be like a bit of a brewing Toronto exceptionalism that even at a time when, the rest of Canada might be like, yeah, maybe we'll just go the good old comfortable Liberals. I wonder if Toronto emerges as this kind of like tip of the spear, as the city that says, sometimes the rest of Canada is a little mean to us. Maybe that kind of encourages us to view ourselves as a little different, a little more distinct, a little willing to be the most vocal critics of a government that is maybe supported by, the rest of Canada.
I don't know about that.
Is Toronto the center of the universe?
No, I'm not. I'm not from Toronto originally, and I also lived in Montreal for 8 years. So I feel like Toronto is not the center of the universe. I love living here, and it's my home. But what is true is Toronto has a number of progressive voters, and we have voted in different directions over the years. And people are genuinely concerned, and they don't want to be convinced anymore that their problems are individual problems. They're not individual problems. People have had it, and rightfully so. I've had it.
Well, Shannon, thank you very much for your time today. I think I've taken up enough. I feel like I've gone over in your debate prep probably.
That's okay.
Where can people find more information about your campaign?
They can find information at www.shannondevine.ca or stop by our office at 308 Main Street.
I think we have also some...
Yeah, it's right here. It's so embarrassing, but here it is.
Does it kind of like scare you sometime when you see your face a little bit?
I have to get used to it, Christopher. It's just...
I now spend about 5 hours a week just staring at my own face while editing these things. So
I know, it's horrifying.
You're in good company.
It's horrifying, right? It's so horrifying.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to Shannon Devine for coming on to the show. Whichever party you support, whichever candidate support, if you are a Beaches East York resident, I implore you to show up to vote this Monday, August 31st. If any of the other candidates running in that race would like to chat, I have an open door. If any of the federal leaders who represent parties running in that campaign would like to chat, my door is open to them as well. Avi Lewis, you want to come on the show? Pierre Poilievre, do you want to come on the show? Mark Carney, fly me out to Davos and I'll happy to chat with you there, or, whatever private island you're hanging out on tonight. Maybe the Liberals will be less inclined to chat with me after that comment. My name is Christopher Chesson. I'm Toronto the Politics, the show, the host. If you would like to get in touch with me, my email is torontothepoliticstheshow@gmail.com. We're on Instagram. You can find us at Toronto the Politics, the show. If you really care about local journalism and you would like to help me move out of my parents' house one day, you can... If you care about local journalism and you'd like to make this show self-sustaining, you can donate to us at buymeacoffee.com/TTPTS. Those are the initials of Toronto the Politics, the show. But if you don't want to, send us money and still want to help out, send over your favorite episode of the show to your favorite friend and your least favorite episode of the show to your least favorite friend. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.